Welcome to this episode. Today we're diving into what makes the Neuroforal platform's xanthine core concept fundamentally different in cannabinoid-inspired medicinal chemistry.
Yeah, it's a fascinating topic. Last time, we touched on why scaffold design matters. But now we're really unpacking how changing the core architecture, not just tweaking sidechains, reshapes the entire research framework.
Exactly. It's like, when you think about a building, changing the foundation isn't the same as redecorating the rooms. The foundation dictates everything about the structure's stability and function.
And that's the key with Neuroforal. Instead of starting with a traditional cannabinoid core, it uses a xanthine core scaffold, which is a pretty significant departure.
Right, and that shift isn't just for novelty's sake. It fundamentally alters the molecule's geometry and planarity. The way substituents are presented in three-dimensional space changes, which can have big implications for how the molecule interacts with biological targets.
So when you say geometry and planarity, you mean the molecule's shape and electronic distribution, right? That affects how it fits or binds to receptors.
Exactly. The xanthine core imposes a distinct three-dimensional shape compared to classical cannabinoid scaffolds. That changes the orientation of functional groups, which in turn influences binding modes and selectivity profiles.
That's really interesting because it means medicinal chemists can't just apply the same strategies they use with traditional cannabinoids. They have to rethink which substituents to add and where, based on this new spatial framework.
Yeah, it's a whole new set of spatial constraints and opportunities. And that's why scaffold architecture matters so much in early-stage research. It shapes what's possible before you even start testing biological activity.
So it's not about rushing to outcomes or trying to prove the molecule works right away. It's about defining a better scientific framework from the start.
Exactly. A different core means different spatial presentations, which leads to different interaction patterns with biological targets. That shifts the kinds of biological questions researchers ask.
Like, does this new core enable selectivity for receptor subtypes that were hard to target before? Or does it open new pathways for cannabinoid-inspired biology?
Right. And those are better questions than just, is this molecule different? Because structural novelty alone isn't enough.
Yeah, I think that's a crucial point. Just being different doesn't mean it's meaningful. The new scaffold has to create a more useful or interesting research framework.
And that's what makes the xanthine core concept valuable. It reframes the platform, influencing what medicinal chemistry and biology investigations become relevant.
So it's subtle, but critical. It's not about being different for the sake of difference, but about advancing scientific understanding and therapeutic potential.
Exactly. Neuroforal isn't just a molecule or a brand name. It's a structural idea that changes the architectural conversation in cannabinoid research.
And that means it redefines the platform's starting point, which influences downstream research priorities and experimental design.
Yeah, it's a perfect example of mechanism first, validation always thinking. Prioritizing foundational design and rigorous inquiry over premature conclusions.
So, to sum up, the xanthine core scaffold changes the fundamental architecture of cannabinoid-inspired molecules,
which leads to new spatial and interaction possibilities, generating better scientific questions and research directions.
And in research-stage biotech, the quality of those questions really defines the platform's value.
Exactly. Neuroforal shows how thoughtful scaffold design can elevate early-stage research by reshaping the conceptual framework, not just the chemical structure.
Well said. It's a reminder that in medicinal chemistry, sometimes the biggest breakthroughs start with rethinking the foundation.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Neuroforal and the power of scaffold architecture.
Looking forward to exploring more in future episodes. Take care.